Hi, Alex here from Rebeloper.com and welcome back to this epic in-app purchase tutorial series where you can learn everything about in-app purchases in Xcode 10, Swift 4.2 and iOS 12. And today we are going to add the code for consumables. Now let's get to work. In the previous lesson, I have shown you how you can, of course, open up the starter project for this tutorial series, and most importantly, I have shown you how you can create the in-app purchase for our consumables in our App Store Connect. So what I have done, and I advised you to do so, add a little more than one in-app purchase. So I have created a chest of coins, another consumable that it has a new product ID, and it is of course ready to submit. And I have added that into the RebeloperStore config.plist file under the second item, well, item 1. For the identifier, as you can see, the consumable is 2. Okay, now that is what I have done in the break, and you should have, well, 1 or 2 consumables for your project. Okay, let me just go in this video through the code that we are going to add. Of course, if you are adding this to a brand new project, make sure that you have copied the RebeloperStore basic folder and all of these files into your project. Okay, next up is that we want to start RebeloperStore, and we want to start it as quickly as possible. So we will do that in the app delegate file under application did finish launching with options. So let me just uncomment this, and it is pretty simple. Start RebeloperStore. And that's it. One line of code and you have started RebeloperStore. Now this fetches all of your products and does all of the background data that RebeloperStore does, and you don't have to worry about. Now let us just go into our Consumables controller and see what's going on here. Okay, let me just run this well, I'm still running the final project, and let's see what we are going to see. So here we go, and let me just hover my mouse, and as you can see, we have the restore button at the top right corner, some coins, and 2 in-app purchases, bag of coins, the description, the bag of coins is the title, the description, and the price on the button. Okay, now this is handled by collection kit, and I will be creating a collection kit tutorial series real soon, so go ahead and check that out if they are already available on the channel. So basically what you should know is that collection kit is a data source driven UI collection view controller replacement, or let's say that. And what does that mean? What that means is that you need to provide some elements for it to work. And the first one, let me just scroll down here, is a data source. Now RebeloperStore Basic uses the RebeloperStore fetch purchases for consumables, but it also uses the fetch purchases for consumable, but that should be used with RebeloperStore Pro. So I've just commented this line up, and let me just walk you through it. So we are having a data source. What that means is that we are fetching all of our consumables, and in an order of ascending for our app. So we then add it to our array data source with the data, and if this data doesn't exist, So basically, if you are launching this controller as the first one of your app, well, maybe the data wasn't really fetched just yet. So we are falling back on an empty array. Okay, that is for the data source. We will be talking about how to add or update this data source once the app is fetched, once the app has fetched all of the consumables, just in a little bit. So for now, just know that we need a data source, we need a view source, and that view source is a purchase cell. You can take a look at the cells here, and it is a purchase cell, and we have, of course, our delegate set for that cell. So we may get, let me just show you here, we have our purchase cell delegate that has the commit consumable purchase, and this is called when we are tapping on the button. So basically the purchase cell has a delegate that calls upon this commit consumable purchase with a user info function, and we are executing it, of course, in our consumable controller. Let's just scroll a little bit even further down, and we set the purchase type to be consumable, and that is just basic stuff. So just for handling, you will most probably won't have to add this on your app, and we want to populate with this data. Okay, and the data, of course, is our purchases. If you want to, go ahead and take a look at the populate function. Let's jump to definition. And what this does basically is, it is in the purchase cell, it sets the purchase buttons string. So yeah, that's it. It's a little bit of nerdy stuff. You don't have to do this if you are there. Okay, so next up we have this populate. What does this really mean? Well, let's just jump right into it. Let's jump to definition, and we have our purchase. Here we have our purchase, and we want to populate this cell with the purchase. So what we want to have is a price formatter that comes along with a merchant kit, and we want to set the free replacement text to be free, the prefix to be only, and we want to fetch the price with a price formatter. And we basically grab the price of our purchase and add it into this function. So price formatter dot string from price, and we set that to the purchase button. And what this really does is sets this to only, and the formatted price for the currency of your user. And this is really handy. So go ahead and use that. Okay, let's just jump right back in and go a little bit further down, and here we have our notification center observer, and this is a real good place to update our UI. And RebeloperStore comes with this notification name reload products UI, and you can add the observer like so, and once this is triggered, so we have posted a notification name reload products UI, where basically RebeloperStore posts this notification. You can update your UI, and we are doing that by setting the data source data again. So we are fetching our fetch purchases for consumables again. Okay, that's it for this notification, and it is pretty good that you use it. Of course, you may handle it manually too. Now, here we have our setProvider function, and that is called in the view did load. So setProvider basically sets up the provider for our collection kit. So let me just go through it one step at a time. So first of all, we want to create a section provider, and I will just comment this out. Well, it will be a basic provider, and that is collection kit stuff. But what we want to add is our data source, view source, and the size source. And the size source is, let me just go ahead and take a look at it. It is a basic return of a CG sign. Well, basically the size of our cell. So that is how easy it is to create a basic provider so for our collection view. Next up, we want to create a sections provider with all the sections, and this has only one section, but I wanted to show you the code if you want to have more sections, because you just simply create another section provider and add it to the sections array here. Okay, what is up next? Well, let me just uncomment this and go through it. Let's create a composeHeaderProvider so we may add the header view source and the header size source and sections. So what this does is allows collection kit to have that header, and of course, as you can see, we do have a header here, and it provides the number of coins that we have currently for our user. So we are going to create a composeHeaderProvider, and we are going to add our closure view, header view source, and that will be a closure view source, and we are going to populate this view for our consumables header. Now this is not the purchase cell, this is the consumables header. Let me just go there. And the consumables header, of course, is but has a count label. Currently it is at 1000, and of course we have our coin image here. So that is the header cell, and for that header cell we want to populate it. So let me just jump right into it. Here we go. And we want to get the virtual currency amount from RebeloperStore, and we want to add it to the count labels text. But this is a RebeloperStore Pro feature, so we won't enable this at this point. We will do that when we are going to talk about RebeloperStore Pro. Now, if you want to purchase it, go ahead and take a look at the resources, and you will find the link, or just visit our store at store.rebeloper.com and find RebeloperStore. Okay, that's it. And we want to add our sections, and that will be our sections provider. Here we go, that is it. And a header size source, basically that's again a CG size for our header, and that will be the maximum width and the height of 62 pixels. What is up next? Let us just have our HeaderComposer. So we add the compose provider that we have just created. Here we go. We add it to the HeaderComposer. Now the HeaderComposer is a part of our collection kit framework. And let me just go ahead, and if you just noticed, we are having the collection consumables controller from our collection view controller, and the collection view controller is again one that we have created. Here we go, and it has a provider and a collection view. So by adding this collection view, of course we have added our collection view, and the collection view animator is fade animator. That means that the cells are fading in, and we have added our frame to the view's bounds. Now we have access, and just to round it all up, we have access to the HeaderComposer. Now the HeaderComposer is the compose provider that we have just created here. Okay, let's go even further. We now want to set the provider to be the compose provider again. And finally, if we wanted to, this is compulsory, we wanted to set the header to be sticky, and here is our function. And that is why I wanted to set this as an example, because now we can access the HeaderComposer and we want to set the isSticky property to the value that we have added, and it is false for now. Okay, let's scroll even further now, and we can see that we have our setup navigation bar items, and that is basically we are setting the restore purchases button, and we have a selector on it, and that is right down here. Of course, make sure that is an Objective C, and we want to restore purchases, and it couldn't be simpler. So you just call upon RebeloperStore and restore purchases. Okay, now let me just stop this from our phone and run our RebeloperStore starter on my phone, and hopefully everything comes into place and we will see our in-app purchases show up. Okay, let me just show you here. There we go. Most probably I want to have you see the log, and as you can see, again, we are fetching our consumables and non-consumables and so on. Of course, we could not fetch it because they are not on our App Store Connect account. And let's see what happened in our app. As you can see, we are missing the title and the description of our purchase, but we do have our products prices. Now, most probably Merchant Kit will be updated with this info, but for now, let me just show you what you need to let's say patch in order for these to appear, and that is for the title and the description. Let's go back to our final project, and I will just go to pods, Merchant Kit, and go to purchase, and there you will find the purchase struct, and go ahead and copy out, or rather yet you will not find all of these two, but go ahead and type in public-let, localized title, and so the one that I have copied. So let's go again to our Merchant Kit, purchase, and if you start typing in, it wants you to unlock it. Go ahead and unlock it and paste that in there, and we still want to have these two, so our localized title and localized description added into the init. Okay, let me just paste that in there, and we are ready to go. And hopefully now we can get those titles and descriptions. So I'm running it again on my phone. Now let's see, what do we have here? It is fetching, and we have a crash. So now that we have our restore purchases button set up too, I just remembered that of course, while we did have our title and description enabled in the Merchant Kit, we still have to uncomment some lines, and that is in our purchase cell. And if you recall, we are adding our purchase button title here with the price formatter, and we want to have our title label text and the description label text to our localized description of our purchase. And now you can see that all of these are greened out, so Xcode really recognized what we have added in here in our purchase.swift file, and those are this and this. Let me just go back. Now let us just test this out. Okay, let's build and run and see how this goes. Okay, let's unlock this. Here we are, and it is fetching, and it did fetch. So here we have our bag of coins, get your hands on 30 coins, and our button, but if we tap on the button, nothing really happens. Okay, and that is the last step of this tutorial, and it is pretty simple with RebeloperStore. Let us just go into our Consumables controller. Of course, we have our delegate, as I have told you earlier, and the delegate, once we push on the button, calls upon commit consumable purchase with the user info. So we want to have our user info, and this user info has a purchase associated with it. Now let me show you how this is set up. Let me go to our purchase cell and find. Here we have our purchase button and the handle purchase button. So here is our user info constructed that we will basically add to our commit consumable purchase delegate method. Here is our user info. So it is basically getting a key for and adding our purchase. So we are transmitting a purchase to it with the user info purchase, and this is all set up in the RebeloperStore key under purchase. And let me just jump right there so you may see that we have our purchase and results too. These are basic keys that we are using in RebeloperStore. So once we let me just go back here to our consumables. Once we unwrap our user info and get our purchase from the user info with the key of the purchase as a purchase, we want to cast it as a purchase, then we just simply commit our purchase. And isn't that real nice? Just one line of code, RebeloperStore.commit purchase, and we use the purchase that we have just gotten from our user info. Now let's build and run and test that out too. Okay, and while we are at it, we are going to test out the in-app purchases too. Okay, here we go. It is fetching the products. Okay, let's tap on only on the first one. Okay, let's just wait for it because it is fetching. Okay, and as you can see, we are in a sandbox environment. Now let me just type in my sandbox test user password, and after we do that, I will show you how you can set up your test user account. But let me just show you right now before I test that. So let's go to App Store Connect. It is really easy to set up, so I will just show you now. Okay, users and access. And under sandbox, here we have our testers, and just simply add a plus button. Select the plus button and add a new email. Now this email can be a random email, anything that you want to. What you want to remember is your password that you have set it up. Okay, now let's go back to our Xcode and our running project here, and type in my password. Okay, now let's tap on buy, and it is purchasing, and now we should get our alert, and with the you are all set, your purchase was successful. And as you can see, the environment again is sandbox. Let's click on OK, and as you can see, we don't have the header updated just yet. We will talk about that in the next video, and that is because that is a part of RebeloperStore Pro. But for now, go ahead and take a look that on the log that the virtual currency pack consumable one has succeeded with a result of succeeded. So we do have got our purchased product. Okay, now what about RebeloperStore Pro? Well, we will talk about that in the next video, where we will discuss how to add this simple update of the UI to the desired number of coins with a simple line of code. You just missed it, or maybe you did get it. It is uncommented now because we need RebeloperStore Pro for that, but you already should have known the line that we are going to add in. Now, this was all for consumables. In the next video, I will be talking about RebeloperStore Pro and non-consumables, how you can set it up and add it to your project. Now, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, go ahead and give it a thumbs up as usual. And I want to hear your comments down below in the comments. Subscribe if you haven't already done so. And I dare you to push that bell so you may get notified when I upload new videos to this epic in-app purchases tutorial. Of course, all of it in Swift 4.2, Xcode 10, and iOS 12. And as usual, I will see you in the next one.